Indianapolis Motor Speedway with all its history, tradition, and prestige. A big stage where NASCAR's biggest names shine brightest. Sunday's Brickyard 400 proved that again when a three-time champion became a three-time Indy winner.
And we are just seconds away from the start of the 16th running of the All-State 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Green flag is out at 2x2 down the front stretch. They are all locked together headed to turn one.
Jimmy Johnson has won 2 of the last 3 at Indianapolis. A power move through turn number 2. He's going to slide down in front of Mark Martin. Jimmy Johnson to the point on the restart.
And down the front stretch they come. Jimmy Johnson will lay claim to his 3rd victory in the All-State 400 at the Brickyard.
Jimmy Johnson led just 24 laps on the day, but they were the last 24 laps, and Johnson claimed his 3rd win in the Brickyard 400 in the past 4 years, taking the lead from Mark Martin on a late restart and holding off Mark's determined late laps try to get that top spot back. Juan Pablo Montoya dominated the day, leading 116 of the 160 laps until a late pit road speeding penalty put him back. He finished 11th. The penalty, the restart, the late laps duel, and much more next on the Monday Roundtable edition of NASCAR Now.
NASCAR Now is presented by the Home Depot.
And from the Home Depot Garage Studio, we welcome you to the What a Difference a 1/10 of a mile an hour makes edition of the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. A 1/10 of a mile an hour was the difference between Juan Pablo Montoya kissing the yard of bricks and Jimmy Johnson taking home that trophy for the 3rd time in 4 years. We talk all about it and more with our expert panel for this Monday. Ray Evernham, Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty. First question is, this network likes its analysts to make picks for races. How many of you picked Jimmy Johnson to win Sunday?
I did.
Show of hands. 2 out of 3. Okay. About 2/3 of the way through the race, how many of you were still thinking your pick was going to be okay? No, oh, don't put that hand up. Don't even go there.
Not me. I thought Montoya had him killed. There's no doubt about that.
Gone. It was Montoya's race. He was gone.
It was an interesting race. And how many times do we say the fastest car doesn't always win?
Well, we talked about Indianapolis being a place that you had to get everything right. It wasn't going to be won on pure horsepower or pure aerodynamics or pure talent. You had to have all of those things and have the team not make any mistakes. And a mistake lost that race.
Yeah. All right, I want to say we dive right in.
Let's go.
Show you how Jimmy Johnson won Sunday's running of the Brickyard 400. He started 16th, having won this race 2 of the last 3 years. And he didn't stay 16th for long. He was running in the top 5 by the 100-mile mark with only the lap 1 caution to help it out. Did most of it under green, plus, of course, a little help from the pit crew on that first round of green flag stops. Lap 110, he passes Brian Vickers for 3rd place.
And that was an important pass because that was the pass that would set him up to start on the outside of Mark Martin on the restart.
He was 7 seconds behind Juan Pablo Montoya there when Montoya got his pit road speeding penalty on his lap 125 stop, and Dale Jr.'s car blows up to bring out the caution at lap 127. So that puts Jimmy running 2nd. He lines up outside Mark Martin's 5 car for the restart with 24 laps to go, and the winning pass happens there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key thing right there. Mark could have started on the outside of the track because he's got the decision to make, but he decided to go to the bottom. Jimmy got the momentum on the top side of his track. Check it out right there. Got in front of Mark, and boy, it was over at that point right there.
Mark tried for it to not be over. Jimmy had to hold off a very determined drive by Mark.
Yes, he did. Mark was really good in 1 and 2, but Jimmy was great in 3 and 4, and he just could not close the distance at all, but he gave it a heck of a try.
And one more time, Jimmy Johnson finds a way to win, taking his 3rd Brickyard 400 in 4 years and enjoying all the tradition that goes with it.
This is a great day for us. We had a competitive car throughout the day. It was just very tough to come through the field. We started 16th and kind of fell into 5th for a while, and then got to 4th and then to 3rd. So, you know, at the end, with Juan having his problems and the caution coming out, it gave me a chance to really race with Mark on the restart, and that was really my only opportunity. Whoever, maybe after 1 or 2 laps, things just kind of evened out, and you really didn't have an opportunity to pass. So just glad to hang on. Mark put a ton of pressure on me. Very proud of you know, his effort and what that 5 teams accomplished. And you know, the all 4 teams are working very close together, and it's nice to have Mark on board and working so closely with all of us.
We got stuck behind the 83 after a round of green flag stops and weren't able to get by him until later in the run. And just that one pit stop right there, if he'd have slowed up just a little bit and we've been just a little bit faster, we probably wouldn't have been up there challenging for the lead a little bit faster. So things really played out the way that we had anticipated them. So it was a good day for the Lowe's team and for everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, especially with the 5-car finishing second. I think the 24 finished 8th.
Anytime you come to Indianapolis, it's almost like sacred ground, and reading about it and growing up in racing, and never thought I'd ever probably go to a race here, but have an opportunity to win this thing it's just phenomenal. It doesn't get any better than this. And these guys, I was talking to Chad last night. He said, "Well, don't come up here expecting us to win. We'll probably be about a 10th place car." I enjoy it when he tells me that, because I know he's wetting my leg. But we had I still get chill bumps when I walk out Gasoline Alley and see all that sea of people on both sides of the track.
Well, Jimmy Johnson becomes the 3rd driver in the 100-year history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to win there 3 times in a span of 4 years. Formula One legend Michael Schumacher took the U.S. Grand Prix 4 straight years, and 3-time Indy 500 winner Wilbur Shaw, the company Jimmy Johnson now keeps in the record books. First up, there wasn't a lot of passing in Sunday's race. It sure didn't appear. We'll dig into that a lot more later in the show, but Jimmy was able to pass cars when a lot of others weren't. Why? What do you think?
Well, he did. He definitely had a pretty good car. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, you watched him kind of, hovered around 6th through 10th most of the day. But he was not the only one. There was a ton of cars that got stuck in the back and just flat could not make the passes. I would look at the leaders' time. They're running like 52-second laps. Back in the pack, they're running like 53.50s, a second and a half off the pace. That lead was important. But Jimmy did have one of the cars that could pass a little bit, and I stress a little bit.
Well, and you can say Jimmy knew that he had to get some passing done early on new tires, and the first 7 or 8 laps were critical. He got some early passes done, and they gained him on pit road too. They did everything right. They had some great pit stops, and he gained. He was in the top 10 by lap 30, I believe.
The final restart. Why was Jimmy able to use the outside line to make the pass on Mark Martin?
He just really drove the car down in there very deeply, and I tell you, it just takes a lot of guts and moxie to do what he did. But he also got Mark's car a little arrow loose. You see Mark as he tries to hold on as he goes into the corner, and the car wiggles just a little bit. And when he does that, it gives Jimmy just enough room to pull in front of him and take off. And when he's gone, you're not going to catch him, you're not going to pass him like we talked about. It was impossible to pass there yesterday.
And Rusty, when that happens, it's because you can't really unwind the steering wheel because there's a guy on the if that guy's holding you, you can't really unwind the steering wheel, and that what makes the car loose?
Oh, absolutely. You get in a corner, you can't let the car run out against the wall. Mark has got to keep the car pinched down to the bottom of the track, and I'll guarantee you that was on Mark's mind. If you watch the start of that race, he went down to the turn 1 with Juan Pablo Montoya on the outside and got really big time loose. Montoya cleared Mark and checked out, so that entry is very important. The way it turned out, I think we all would have liked the restart on the top side of the track instead of starting on the bottom like Mark did.
In the final laps, Mark wasn't giving up. He was throwing everything he had at Jimmy. We're going to talk about things from Mark's perspective in a couple minutes. But, Rusty, put me inside that 48 car.
Oh, right now.
How much is he watching the mirror?
Oh, Alan, it's a great question. He's watching mirror a ton. I mean, he's actually mirror driving right now. I mean, he knows Mark's breathing down his neck, especially off of turn 2. Now, I pretty well had him covered off of turn 4, but boy, when Mark would catch him, he'd put that car in front of him. Mark pulled down, he pulled to the bottom. I mean, he was definitely having to mirror drive. I do the same thing. That's what they do in those stoppable racetracks.
Do you have an explanation for why Jimmy and this team continue to be able to pull these come-from-behind wins out time and time again? It's not just luck.
No, it's not just luck. I think it's just excellence in what they do and in their craft. I mean, you look at how they're prepared when they come to these big races. Chad Canals is the best guy on the box. They do a great job of not making mistakes. They don't put themselves in a position to lose these deals.
Brad's exactly right, and Brad, to win championships on a high level, you've got to have a team that clicks like that. You've got to have from that great coach like Chad Canals to the players on down, and everybody's just communicating and clicking. And they made every little gain they could. They brought a car from 16th to the lead of that race to win it, and used the whole race to do it. but still got it done.
And one thing I will say real quick about this, I mean, take a look at Mark Martin. He's won 4 races this year, guys. Look at Tony Stewart. Now, Tony Stewart's won races also. That Hendrick Motorsports chassis, that Hendrick Motorsports engine, very, very important too. The top 3 positions yesterday were Hendrick cars, Hendrick cars, Hendrick cars. So, look, Jimmy and Chad are doing a fantastic job. Don't take that away from them. But the rest of those cats are doing good too.
Chad Knaus, by the way, will join us at the bottom of the hour to talk more about his team's win in Sunday's Brickyard 400. Hendrick leading me to my next topic, and Ray was chatting about this with us this morning. Rick Hendrick's teams have won the Brickyard 400 7 times in 16 tries. That's remarkable.
Well, again, it goes back to the depth of Rick Hendrick's organization and the kind of equipment and people that he provides. If you look at the big races, big championships, you know, they always step up when the time comes. And that man that you see right there is certainly taking his place. He was nominated as one of the top 25 people to go into the Hall of Fame, and certainly belongs there because what he has built over a number of years is just incredible when you look at the record book.
And I enjoyed hearing Mr. Hendrick say there in some of the snippets we heard from the post-race press conferences how he still gets a chill and a thrill. Sometimes it's hard to imagine, and you guys can all put a perspective on this, what the owner really gets out of competing besides a whole bunch of employees and a lot of bills and that kind of thing. But for Rick to say still gets that thrill when he walks out to Gasoline Alley and to be part of that has got to be neat.
Well, I think from Rick's side of things, Rick is a people person, and he enjoys putting things together and seeing people do good. Rick always enjoys giving you the opportunity to excel, and he did that for me. He's done it for Jeff Gordon, now for Chad, for Jimmy, for Mark Martin. That's Rick, when he feels like he's given you the opportunity to do what you want to do, that's what he enjoys.
Yeah, this sport, like any other sport, is so team-oriented that everyone has their role, and if they don't all do it well, you don't have any success. And that's what Rick is talking about. He still gets chills because he knows what his part, what his role in this organization is, obviously being the owner, but he gives everyone else, Entree, an opportunity to do their jobs. And when you have a good team, a great team that clicks, there's nothing else like that.
And Rick Hendrick's like the ultimate racer. Yeah. I mean, this guy's, he's been in drag racing, he's been in boat racing, he's been in stock car racing, and you got to say the same thing about a guy like Richard Childress or even Jack Roush or Roger Penske. I will tell you, if you ask all those guys, they'll tell you every time they go to the race, they still get pumped up and they get excited to go. And they all really get pumped when they go to Indy.
And one more time, when it's a big race or a big situation, Jimmy Johnson comes through as he wins Sunday's Brickyard 400. Up next, we're going to talk about Mark Martin's side of that final restart in the late race tool. Could he have done anything differently in those final laps to change the outcome? And Juan Pablo Montoya, who lost his chance to win by speeding on pit road, going as fast as he could, was no help.
We had this in the bag, and they screw us because I was not speeding.
And a look at how the Indy race affected points and the race to the chase. Breathing room for some, but a hole to dig out of for others. And our ESPN Sports Nation poll this time wants to know, with Kyle Busch now outside the top 12, will he or won't he make the chase? Log on to ESPN.com, go to the NASCAR page, and cast your vote.
NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot. Visit HomeDepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And Dickies, wear with purpose.
Let's talk about things from the perspective of the other player in the finish. Mark Martin started from the pole, but was passed by Juan Pablo Montoya on a lap 5 restart.
Oh, yeah, take a look at this restart now. Montoya just gets a lot of momentum on the top side of this racetrack and gets going. It makes Mark very, very loose. You see Junior get alongside him there.
Mark trailed Montoya by 5.5 seconds just before the final pit stop and inherited the lead when the 42 was penalized. He chose that inside lane for the final restart with 24 to go and just couldn't hold off Jimmy.
Jimmy bails off down the corner, and you can see Mark here. That car is extremely tight right there. He doesn't want to bobble, get into Jimmy, wreck his teammate. Jimmy takes advantage of that opportunity, clears him, and it was Katie Barr at the door.
Well, Mark tried everything he could in the final laps, but had to settle for second.
I was beating Jimmy pretty bad off of turn two, and I knew that for the last, 15 laps for sure. But he was beating me pretty bad off of 4. So I was going to have to make it happen off of 2, and I made some great runs, but I really thought several other times I was going to hit the wall over there, and I absolutely could not go any faster. I went through there beyond my good judgment, drove my heart out, and gave it everything I had, and I'm actually just grateful that I had a chance to race for the win. Would have liked to have won it, but got beat by Superman.
The final restart from Mark's side of it. I know he talked about it a little bit before, but I just want to come back and put a button on it. From what I heard from people all during the weekend, the inside lane was going to be the place you wanted to be if you had lane choice for the restart. Mark was the guy that had lane choice for that inside lane for the final restart, and it didn't work. What gives?
Well, it didn't work for him at that time. A couple of things, my thoughts only. You know, Jimmy Johnson's on the outside. He's solidly in the chase. He's got more room to go down in the corner really hard. If he makes a mistake, he's going to get up in the wall but slide up out of the group. Mark is on the inside. He's not solidly in the chase. That's his teammate on the outside of him. If he barrels it down in the corner, makes a mistake, he's going to take out his teammate and maybe a chance for Hendrick Motorsports to win the race. So I don't think that Mark made a mistake. I just don't think his car would stick. I think Jimmy sailed it down there. We know he's an incredible driver. But I don't want to say, what about the stuff that Mark didn't do? Let's look at what Mark did.
Well,
I mean, the guy is doing a great job. He put that car on the pole. He led the race. He ran second. He almost won it. I mean, here's a guy that's 50 years old, that's won 4 races this year, was the talk of the town in Indianapolis, and he's just doing a tremendous job, and he's going to have a shot. He will be in the thick of the things at the chase.
And it leads our next topic of discussion. We were all sitting there in the pit studio watching the last 20 laps of that race and watching Mark work and work and work and try to find some way to get that lead back.
It was absolutely a treat to sit and watch Mark Martin try to saw off that lead as best he possibly could. I mean, he drove his rear end off trying to get to Jimmy Johnson's rear bumper, and it was very impressive. He is such a dogged, determined competitor. It is just a thrill to watch Mark Martin drive that race car.
And Brad, as we watched that thing yesterday unfold from the studio, like Alan was saying, you could tell that he had a front end that was pushing just a little bit. That car was walking the track. It just wasn't hooked up. And he needed to get the nose of that car as low as he possibly could to get that air to that nose so he could try to make that pass. And you could see him doing that. A couple times he was almost in the grass trying to make that pass. And coming off of turn 4, he had that baby hung out. Yeah. He was driving it hard. But it was clear as a bell that the exit of turn 2 is where his strong point was. And, man, he was trying it. He almost got it done a couple times.
It's a great effort for the whole weekend for Mark Martin, and kind of sad he had to settle for second place money. Now, we talked about the 2 guys that raced for the win. The guy that dominated the race was Juan Pablo Montoya, star of the day, started second, passed Mark Martin on the lap 5 restart, led much of the rest of the day by over 5 seconds at times. Montoya has a huge lead when he makes what should have been his final trip to pit road under green, lap 125. But his pit road speed exceeded the limit in 2 of the 6 segments on pit road. He has to come back in for a pass-through penalty. Not good news for Brian Patty to receive from the officials. Montoya goes through the pits for his penalty. Then caution waves for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s engine failure, which allows Montoya to catch up. He restarts 12th with 24 laps to go, but literally spends the rest of the race fighting with Joey Logano for a spot. It took him all those 24 laps just about to pass the 20 car. So instead of kissing the bricks, it's 11th place money for Juan Pablo Montoya on Sunday.
Kind of sucks, but it's what it is. You know, everybody at the Target Chevy did an amazing job. I thought it was on the speed, and you know, we got lights. I was on the lights every time, and actually that light was actually came in slower than the previous one, and they said you're speeding. So it's what it is. You know, we had a deal like that before, and you know, once it happens, you can't change it. So it's pretty frustrating, but it shows where we're going with the team.
The penalty is what it is, and we, you know, we've had the computers installed for 5 or 6 years now, and it's a simple math equation, and it gives the miles an hour. You know, it was 2 sections out of the 8 on pit road that were in the 60-mile-an-hour zone, 60.06 and 60.11, I believe is what it was. You know, Juan's a great competitor, and you can't, in the heat of the battle, you really can't take those things too seriously, and I know his disappointment. And he should be disappointed. And he had the best car out there today, led the most laps, and surely deserved to win on that part of it. But, you know, you have to have a perfect day a lot of times.
Now, there is a segment of NASCAR fans, based on what I've read and heard and been talked to about throughout the day on this Monday, who think that NASCAR, pardon the language, but screwed Montoya with the speeding call in the race. So first, I want to take a minute and talk about how pit road speed is measured and how it works. Can you set us up with that?
Yeah, up and down pit road at different tracks, there's different segments. At Indianapolis, there are 6 segments. There's a wire that goes across those. There's an electronic transponder that goes on the back of your car. It's placed the exact same distance on every car. As the transponder goes across that wire, it triggers the time, start, stop. A computer computes the distance. If you complete that distance and it says that you're over a mile an hour, a red light comes on the computer, shows that you have sped in that distance up in the tower in front of everybody.
All right, so you heard from Robin Pemberton, NASCAR's Vice President of Competition, that after the 5-mile-an-hour grace period that the teams are given, 60 is the effective speed limit. Montoya ran 60.06 and 60.11 miles an hour in 2 of those zones on pit road. And NASCAR also said he exceeded 59 miles an hour in all the others. Would anyone here have any reason to question whether this was a valid penalty?
Oh, it's definitely a valid penalty. It's just the way it is. It's all electronic. It's on a computer. You know, NASCAR doesn't have anything to do with this decision. They look down and it pops up red. You're done.
Yeah, the travesty in this is that he led, 116 laps, and he was clearly the class of the field. At some points in the race, he was leading by as much as 7 seconds. So that is where the angst is really in all this. NASCAR didn't do anything wrong.
All right, Brad. Yeah. You're the class of the field. You got a 5-second lead. Your car is so fast. You're 55-mile-an-hour speed limit with a 5-mile-per-hour grace period. Why are you pushing it over 59 miles an hour where one little thing could make a mistake? Why not back it down when you when you're pitting your last stop?
I wouldn't even get close to that. I mean, I'd be going 50 miles an hour with that kind of a lead. It is so, like we talked about yesterday, if these guys are pushing, their speeds off pit road up to 59 miles an hour, trying to fudge in that that 5-mile-an-hour window a little bit, what if you change your line just a little bit and come a little bit too close to the transponder? Maybe that nicks it over by a 1/10. Just don't even mess with it.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Let me tell you now. Come on, as a driver, let me tell you as a driver, what you're going to do, you're going to do the same thing you do every single week. You're going to be repetitive with your actions. If you push the speed limit, you're going to push it every single week. And he's talking about those lights in that tachometer. There's 3 of them there, I think 3 or 4 green lights. Let's take a look at this right here. Light those things up for me, guys.
It's an illustration of how one of the tacks works.
Okay. Look at this bottom yellow. Yellow means you're running too slow. Green means you're okay. There's another green light. The drivers try to keep it in the center. Man, if you hit that red one right there, that means you're speeding. And the goal is to try to keep that, probably the second green light, maybe the first green light. You kind of run in the middle. But what happened to Montoya, right now, all the drivers are pushing everything to the limit. They're going to the very top of that green light, trying to get all the speed they possibly can. I'll guarantee you Montoya did the same thing he's done every single week. Now, here's the question I got. You're going to set that tachometer with a yellow button. Okay, I've talked around today. What happens?
When you're following the pace car around on the parade laps.
Set it off the pace.
Exactly. You're behind the pace car. And what you're going to do is get really steady. You're going to reach up. You're going to hit that yellow button. That's going to set your speed on your tachometer and also calculate the 5-mile-an-hour grace period in that tach. That yellow button on the right-hand side around that numeral 11. That's where it's at, folks. Okay, you're going to hit that button right there. It's going to set that tach. All right. Now, if you hit that button and you're not running pit road speed exactly, at Indianapolis it was 55 miles an hour. If Juan accidentally was maybe running 56 and set that tach, that put his grace period up to 61 miles per hour. That's going to bust him right there. There's a couple of different ways to screw up.
Or 55.1, as it turned out.
But Ray, your question is, okay, you got a 5-second lead, right? Why are you going to go that high? That's a valid point. Now, I guess my answer would be, it's just that's what he does every single week. Didn't change it.
But we talked about, when you're leading a race that big, and you're that close to the edge, the only reason you guys that go that close to the edge is when you've got to beat somebody. It's no different than sliding your car around the corner sideways. You're going to be on that gas when you got to pass a guy, but you're not going to be sliding that thing off the corner when you're coming to the checker. You're going to be a little bit more conservative. My question is, why not with all that distance? Because the yellow is 55 miles an hour. As you go green, it's up. That thing calculates additional 5 miles an hour for you. If you have any word at all that it's close, why not stay in the yellow? You're that far ahead. It's a no-brainer.
Brad, I don't know about you, but when you're playing ball and I was driving, dude, I'm all jacked up.
Oh, yeah, I'm all jacked up. And that's a part of it. That's a big part of it.
I'm all jacked up. I need somebody to help me. Hey, Ray, tell me, slow down, back me down a little bit.
I have been in that situation and screamed and screamed and screamed. Now, we didn't, back when I was doing my deal, we didn't have all that fancy stuff. You went by RPM, but you used to tell them, back it down 200, 300, whatever it was. We got a big lead. Guys, let's get this. Slow down the pit stop. Get the wheels tight. Don't speed on pit road. Back your speed down. And I'm not being critical because, Brian Patty does a great job, and certainly Juan Montoya is a great champion, but it's just, man, it blows me away because you don't get that many opportunities. They had an unbelievable car yesterday. They were the class of the field, and I just hate to see races get lost, like a big game being lost on a penalty that could have been avoided.
Guys, I'd like to know if he got that help.
Hang on.
Did he get that help?
Well, we'd have to go back and pull up the radios to find out.
I don't know if Montoya got that help or not from Patty.
You talk about screaming before.
Yeah.
Our producer's screaming now because we got to go to break. Coming up on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable, Chad Knaus joined us to talk about Jimmy Johnson's win on Sunday at the Brickyard. Okay, stop screaming. We went to the break. Here we go. Kiss those bricks. Mwah. Let's go sell something.
Full Throttle is brought to you by Degree B12.
It's the once-a-year chance to win at Indianapolis for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers. The history in Indianapolis tells us that the big-name drivers tend to win here.
You have to get yourself in a position to win this race when it counts, and that's in those last 10 laps.
Thank y'all for such a beautiful race car. It's paying off all year. Go get us another one. 10-4, buddy. 160 of our best. We'll go get them.
Green flag is out at 2x2 down the front stretch, but they're all locked together.
Martin wobbles a little bit in turn one, and Montoya will get the spot.
Clear, beautiful. 5 points, nice job.
Right now is the time to really get singled out here and then push your car a little bit. See where the weak spots are that you may want to work on later.
That's way too loose. Real how bad traffic affects us. I can feel it looser. I also have a chatter in the front now. Holding car a lot faster than the leader, but you're doing great. Watch, try to move around and change things up a little bit.
These guys trying to run down Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, he's running almost a half a second quicker than anybody else right now.
It's all about pace, my friend. Nice and smooth. We're going to have to do some green flag pit stops, it looks like here. Give me 3 good hard laps, man. Pit next time, pit next time. This time, Mark, this time. All the way. Go, get to the wall, all out. No, all the way out. Okay, good pit stop there. Too fast entering, pass through.
This is going to be devastating.
No way, I guarantee you, I bet you money. Okay, so relax. What do you want me to relax, dude? We have this in the bag. 42 just got a penalty. You're the leader. A good rub. Thank you, NASCAR, for screwing my day.
And in the blink of an eye, the complexion of this race has changed, and it's opened up opportunities for some of these other drivers.
They're running 2 tenths of a second faster than the 5 car directly ahead of you. As soon as they get by him, you're going to check out.
He's going to slide down in front of Martin. Jimmy Johnson to the point.
Leader, 48.
What a power move that 48 made on Mark Martin.
Shoot, sorry, guys. You got him. Go get him. Yeah, I'll see where I can get him. I got a chance at it here.
Jimmy Johnson's mirrors are full of the number 5 of Mark Martin.
It's going to take all 400 miles to decide this one.
I gave it all I had. He just beat me off a 4 too much there.
Jimmy Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard.
Yes, boys! Hell yes! I've never had an old man make me so nervous in my life. You are awesome, dude. You are absolutely incredible.
Some notes from Sunday. Juan Pablo Montoya set a record for most laps led in a race by a non-winner at Indy. Jeff Gordon scored his 350th career top 10 finish, passing Rusty Wallace for 10th on that all-time list. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. had his 3rd DNF of the year. He had just 2 in all of 08.
We also had to work on the car a little bit, and Chad did some great things to the race car to start the race, and I knew within about 2 turns that we were going to be very competitive today. And then the adjustments throughout the day were exactly what we needed. Great pit stops, and it was nice to have it all come together. We've been very fast and have led a lot of laps in the last couple months, but haven't been able to be in the right spot at the end. And it's been a little frustrating, but we've been happy with our performance. So to have it all come full circle today and lead at the right time and lead at the end and win this thing meant a lot to us.
And we are joined now by the man who directed the preparation of that winning car, set the winning strategy once again for a third time in Indianapolis. Chad Knaus joins us on the phone from somewhere around Charlotte, North Carolina. Chad, congratulations, a third Indy win. What's it mean to you?
I don't know. Give me another day to soak it all in, and I'll let you know. It's pretty overwhelming. It really is. You know, I had made mention to some people yesterday that when we won our first race there, I had really no idea what it meant and could really truly appreciate it. And then when we were able to pull it off last year, you start to develop the appreciation and the feeling of what comes with winning there at Indianapolis and winning the Brickyard 400. And you know, yesterday I was able to get on the Corvette pace car and make a lap with my team around the racetrack. I hadn't done that the previous two races, so we really took a lot of time to feel the emotions, and it's pretty overwhelming. It's pretty awesome.
So you're sitting on your pit box watching the monitor with the lap times and watching your race unfold. Montoya's out there dominating. At what point during the race did you feel like you had a winning car, and at what point during the race did you feel like, yeah, we can win this?
I'd say probably about lap 6, we felt like we had a shot to win the race.
Really? Wow.
You know, we didn't qualify very well, and which was unfortunate because we really had hoped for a better opportunity on pit road and track position. But you know, when you can go out there and pass cars the way that Jimmy was passing cars early in the event, and you know, basically drove from 16th up into the top 10, was pretty awesome. And at that point I knew, okay, we've got something pretty special here, because it's very difficult to do that at that racetrack. And once he started passing those cars, I knew we had something for those guys.
There wasn't a lot of passing in the race on Sunday from a spectator point of view, at least from where I watched the race, but your car was able to pass people, as you just documented. Was there a particular thing your car was doing, or something particular you worked on to get it to do, that lets you go places other people couldn't?
Yeah, we worked on a lot.
You know I had to try and ask, right? How about that last restart? When Mark chose the inside lane, what were you thinking?
You know, I'll be honest. Dave Burns came up and spoke to me right with one lap to go on top of the pit box and said, if you had your druthers, where would you rather be? I said, well, with Jimmy Johnson, I'd rather be on the outside. And right at that point, that's when Mark jumped to the inside, and I was like, oh, yep. There we go. You know, this could be our shot. So, you know, it's very difficult at a lot of racetracks to be able to hang on to the outside, especially these flat tracks. You know, when you start going to places like here, Phoenix, Pocono, Loudon, some places like that, it's difficult on the flatter tracks. But I really felt like that our car was good, and that if Jimmy could stay on the outside of him going through turn 1, that I thought that we could probably clear him coming off of turn 2.
When Jimmy joined us on our show and on SportsCenter after the race last night, we asked him why you and he and this team seem to be able to come from behind and win these big races. And he put all the credit on you and on the team. So I want to ask you the same question and give you a chance to brag on your driver. Why are you guys able to continually find a way to win these big races?
You know, I'll be honest with you. It's a simple fact that it's not our driver. It's our team. You know, Jimmy's just a part of our team. Even though he may be the most important part, you know, just like a quarterback or, you know, your star running back or whatever it may be on a football team. But he's a part of our team, and he realizes that. You know, he makes mistakes. He contributes to victories just as much as what the pit crew does or anybody else at Hendrick Motorsports. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. He's a very humble guy. If things start to go south on us, or if we've got a lot of work to do, it's not a you guys have to get to work and get better. It's like, hey guys, we have to get better. And I think that breeds a lot of team camaraderie in our organization. And you know, that there's a lot to be said for that, because it's really easy when you start to run poorly to begin to point fingers at one individual or at a group of people and say they're not doing their job properly. But I don't do that, and Jimmy doesn't do that either.
That is very well said. And I was glad to hear you earlier in the interview say you took the extra time to enjoy the tradition of Indy. Congratulations, 3 wins in the last 4 years at Indy, and thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, no problem, guys, and have a great night.
Chad Knaus, winning crew chief for Jimmy Johnson and the Hendrick Motorsports team that took the Brickyard 400 again on Sunday. Up next, highlights from the NASCAR Nationwide Series and Camping World Truck Series races Friday and Saturday at the short track in Indy. They were fantastic. And we're going to take a look at some guys who had some troubles at Indy on Sunday that might affect their standing in the race to the chase. That's next on NASCAR Now.
Welcome back to NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot.
Let's talk about the race to the chase and a couple of guys who had some trouble Sunday. Denny Hamlin had driveline problems after his lap 32 pit stop. Repairs sent him to a 34th place finish. They only cost him 15 points. Denny's in 6th place in the standings. He's 157 to the good. But Kyle Busch took a couple of hits. This one when the right front went down at lap 57, and another one in points. His 38th place finish dropping Kyle from plus 13 points where the chase bubble is concerned to minus 82. So we checked the bubble standings. Juan Pablo Montoya fell a spot in the rankings, but gained 64 points on 13th place. Mark Martin gained about 100 points to the bubble. Greg Biffle moved into the top 12. Matt Kenseth's lead on 13th place was 10 points. Now it is 68. 6 races to go, and a lot of people are asking the question, is Kyle going to make the chase? It is our Sports Nation poll. Let's ask our experts here. Is Kyle going to make the chase?
Yes, he'll make the chase. He's so talented. He'll get on a little mini run here soon and win a couple races and get right back in the middle of it.
I'm sorry, I don't think he's going to make the chase. I mean, I'm not just trying to disagree. I just firmly believe what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to make the chase. I think you got to have a lot of pressure on you now. He's going to have a lot of pressure. He's going to have to drive his guts out. And there's some tracks coming up that aren't really good for him, like Pocono this coming week. It's going to be tough for him. One thing I'm real impressed with Kyle Busch, I'm just getting off a little bit here, really impressed with his interviews he did after he crashed. He's really matured up. Yeah, obviously somebody's talking to him. He did a fantastic job in the interviews to all the people this week.
I think he's going to make it. Man, I picked him to win it. He better make it.
Yeah, doesn't like putting you on the spot there, huh? You think this weekend is a particular big deal for him to get through and get through well?
It is. You know, not just because he's not been great at Pocono or the flat tracks, but he is traveling back and forth to Iowa to race in the nationwide race, and that's a lot of traveling. Is it going to cause him to miss some practice? I know they've worked the schedule to try and avoid that, but still, you know, at a track that he's not particularly that fond of or has performed that well at, how much is that going to take the focus off of what they've got to do? Because they need the points right now. He needs to not have any bad finishes.
Average of 22nd place at Pocono for Kyle Busch in his Sprint Cup career so far. What do you think in our Sports Nation poll? Those of you who voted say 60-40, no, Kyle's not going to make the chase.
Oh, that's interesting.
We'll see how it plays out over the next half dozen weeks or so. Coming up on the Monday Roundtable edition of NASCAR Now, 2 terrific races from O'Reilly Raceway Park Friday and Saturday night. Truck and nationwide highlights in just a moment. And also hot laps are ripped through some weekly topics of discussion, including the crowd at Indianapolis Motor Speedway from Sunday.
You're watching NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot.
We just heard from Chad Knaus on Tuesday's NASCAR Now. Jimmy Johnson joins us, 5 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2, the Brickyard 400 winner. A couple of other topics we want to throw around in hot laps. This really was the first Indianapolis race with NASCAR's new car. You kind of have to throw last year's event out with the tire troubles. Did this Sunday's race have any more, less, or about the same level of action as we've seen at Indy in past years, in your opinions?
I think it was about the same, as the year before. I don't think it was anything overly astonishing. It was a good race at the end, but I think it was basically the same.
Let me throw some numbers out at you. There are actually 2 Brickyard 400s that had fewer cautions than Sunday's. The 2000 race had 2. The 95 race had 1. The 9 lead changes does tie the record for fewest with the 97 and 2007 races. What do you think? More or less or about the same?
It wasn't about the same to me. I thought that the older car, not this car tomorrow, actually looked better out there. It was racier looking at me throughout the pack.
What do you think?
I actually thought it was less. You know, I thought there were obviously less cautions, less lead changes, and I didn't think the racing was as good.
Sometimes NASCAR is a little different than other sports. You see a 15-5 baseball game and nobody walks out saying, change the rules. Well, we might hear a little of that this week because we didn't see the most scintillating race at Indianapolis on Sunday. What, if anything, might be done to make better racing with this car on that track?
Well, that's not done in baseball and football because the equipment doesn't make that big of a difference in those games. And here you've got a mechanical factor that you throw in. The car is a big part of our show, and it's a lot easier to change parts on that car sometimes than it is to change all the rules. I think everybody that I talked to struggled with the front aerodynamically. Most of the crew chiefs would like to have a little bit more leeway in the air dam height that they could run. That would be a good way to maybe let them try some things at the highly aerodynamic tracks without costing the car owners a lot of money.
And as far as the attendance that we saw at Indianapolis on Sunday, the economy has hit the Midwest very hard. Thoughts on what we saw in the grandstands?
You know, there was about 125,000 people there, I think. And the problem also is the size of this facility. I mean, you can put 350,000 people in here. I thought it was an okay crowd. It did look sparse on TV, but there was quite a few people there, quite a few fans. Could have been a little better.
Have your say on any of that?
Well, I would say I'm not going to get involved in the crowd. I want to get involved in a car a little bit. You know, the crowds are tough. There's no doubt about that.
Do we have time for this?
Yeah, the car. You know, if there's one thing I could take to that brand new car, I still call it the COT. I've talked to a lot of teams now. Most of the teams now do have a lot of lead in the right-hand side of the car. They're building them lighter and everything. I do think this car needs more left-hand side weight. I think it's going to make for better racing. You know, this car definitely rolls more. It works the right side tires a lot. I think just simply moving some lead to the left-hand side will make this car much racier.
And by the way, Allstate announcing today that they will not be renewing their contract to sponsor the NASCAR race at the Brickyard. Up next on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. Speaking of worth a second look, Friday and Saturday's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series and NASCAR Nationwide Series races.
Here comes Carl. He takes his 22nd Nationwide Series win.
Truck Series at Indianapolis Friday night. Ron Hornaday going for a fourth straight win. He started fourth in the 33 truck. Tries Tide Bodine here for the lead.
Yeah, he and Bodine had a great battle all night. Clears him on the outside, pulls back in front of him.
And then Mike Skinner set off trying to find a way around.
Skinner had a great truck that night. He got a little slowed up and couldn't quite hang with Ron after they got going a while. Slow traffic blocked him off.
Hornaday holds on and gets to the checkered flag first. The 51-year-old keeps mowing him down. A series record fourth consecutive win. For Ron Hornaday, Skinner tried to slide into the checkers, but it was Hornaday who got their first great race on Friday night. Which set up Saturday night with the Nationwide Series running their 200-lapper at the same O'Reilly Raceway Park. The double-duty guys, Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards, had to start at the back because of the rain-altered schedule over at the Brickyard. Trevor Bayne won the pole, led the first 35 laps. Then when a caution came out, the pace car came out.
It's nothing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The pace car pulled out in front of the field. Trevor's locked the brakes up. Steven hit him in the back. They kind of spun. No harm, no foul, but that was a weird deal with the pace car pulling out.
So Carl and Kyle get all the way to the front. Kyle's leading. Carl goes after him and by at lap 121.
Boy, Carl Edwards had a strong hot rod. It's fun watching these two guys come from the back, two of the best.
But then, on a pit stop, he lost the lead.
Looked like he got jammed behind a car. You know, at short track racing, the pits are small and you've got to be able to get out.
So Carl goes back to work and it was great racing.
Oh man, this race was just amazing. One of the best races of the year. You see Carl gets in the bottom, clears Kyle Busch, and then he just kind of checks out. But he didn't get too far away because Kyle was beating on his rear bumper the whole time.
So Carl Edwards gets to the checkered flag for his second win of the year and does the flip to the delight of the Indianapolis fans. Up next, news and notes and final thoughts on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable.
NASCAR Now, presented by The Home Depot. Visit HomeDepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of The Home Depot.
Formula One driver Felipe Massa is awake and speaking to family members, according to the latest AP report. Remember, he suffered a fractured skull when a spring off another car hit him on the helmet at speed in qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix. SceneDaily.com reports Red Bull General Manager Jay Fry expects to have decisions on a manufacturer and driver lineup for 2010 after he meets with Red Bull officials in Austria next week. And the Canadian Tire Series race in Edmonton on Saturday won by Andrew Ranger. His second straight victory. He extends his point lead over Scott Steckley. Got a minute left. A quick congratulations. Stephen had a great run on Saturday night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's probably a defining moment for maturity out of him. I thought he was really good behind the wheel of that car. A lot of people come up to me, Mike Kelton, all the guys from NASCAR, and it was a neat feeling that we worked that hard, and he really had a good run. It's been getting better and better every week.
Yeah. For me, it's just Montoya. I feel so bad for him. He did such a great job all day long yesterday. I thought it would have been great for the sport for him to get to victory lane. It'd be a great feather in his cap as far as his driving career, and it's all evaporated.
And guys, you know, last year at this time we spent a lot of time talking about how terrible of a job Goodyear did. This year we didn't talk about it tonight, but they did an awesome job in that tire, and I just want to send congratulations out to Goodyear and all the people that worked so hard bringing a great tire to Indianapolis.
You want to give out the phone number for tickets at Iowa Saturday? Oh, wait, you can't. We're out of time. Sorry about that. All right. But it'll be a great race. ESPN Saturday and Sunday. Nationwide Series from Iowa. The Cup Series from Pocono. NASCAR Now with Jimmy tomorrow. Goodbye.